Hello everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar brought to you by Partstat, Sustaining Today's Technology for Many Tomorrows. We have an exciting presentation for you today on two strategies that EMS providers can use to reduce inventory and improve free cash flow. I'm Michael Stratton, the Director of Sales and Marketing here at Partstat, and presenting with me today I have Dennis Menefee, our CEO, and Michael Carpino, our VP of Sales. If you have any questions along the way, please feel free to add them to the chat box and we will answer them at the end of the webinar. But without further ado, I'm going to pass it off to Dennis to kick us off. Dennis?
Great, thank you, Michael, and welcome everybody to our webinar today. We've got some exciting information to share with everybody that's joined our webinar today. Before we get started, first a little information about Partstat. We were established in 1991. We're almost a 30-year-old company. Our headquarters is in Winter Springs, Florida, which is just outside of Orlando. We do have a sales office in Shanghai for many of our EMS customers who are manufacturing in that region. We are an ISO 9001-2015 company, as well as we are AS9120B certified, as we have many aerospace customers as well. So to kick off our webinar today, we wanted to give you a little bit of background, a little bit about our solutions at Partstat. We are this unique company in that we are a big data company, along with we combine that with our unique infrastructure to properly store and handle and fulfill electronic components and semiconductors. So being a big data company, we have millions of data points on, billions of data points rather, on millions of electronic components and semiconductors that are fed to us real time each day from all of the major authorized suppliers and component manufacturers throughout the world. So we provide a bill of material monitoring solution for many of our customers looking to monitor their bills of materials for not only obsolescence, but we also monitor for allocations as well. So many of our customers that come on board with Partstat start out as in our bill of material monitoring solution, and then our other solutions complement that solution very well. By far, our most popular solution is our end-of-life last-time buy solution, which is something we're going to be diving into a little bit deeper today with you, where we buy and store up to 20 years of last-time buy inventory direct from the component manufacturer before the last-time buy date. Which has many, many benefits that we're going to cover with you today. We do take business continuity very seriously here at Partstat, and so when we purchase the end-of-life last-time buy components, we understand the critical nature of that and how much that could represent in downstream revenues for your company. We store these electronic components and semiconductors that are obsoleted here in our warehouse in Winter Springs, Florida. Our entire warehouse is humidity, air conditioned, controlled. However, inside of our warehouse, we brought some additional innovation to this process where we have a Semiconductor Vault inside of our warehouse. We'll touch a little bit on that today, but basically it is truly a vault. It's an 1,100-pound door, ceramic fiber walls. It's self-contained with its own air conditioned, humidity controlled, and fire suppression system. And then we do have, as I mentioned, we have a lot of data on electronic components and semiconductors, and indeed we can share that data in an API format and provide data integration services as we do for many of the component manufacturers around the world, helping their customers to locate authorized suppliers who may have inventory that they may desire. So today we're going to talk specifically to our EMS provider customers, and we're offering EMS provider customers two strategies that will reduce inventory and improve free cash flow. Our first strategy is it has to do with an immediate reduction of inventory, and I'm going to turn it over to Michael Carpino to talk a little bit more about that.
Thanks, Dennis. So we know that most of our EMS suppliers accumulate inventory for their OEM customers for a variety of reasons, mostly on last-time buy situations, end-of-life situations, or they've just accumulated inventory over a time for a certain build. So what Partstat is able to do is actually purchase that inventory from your balance sheet. We're actually purchasing the inventory from the EMS supplier, and we move the obligation to your OEM customer. Now, we move the obligation to your OEM customer by entering into a supply agreement with them. And the structure of this it helps to avoid any SOX issues. We know that some of our EMS suppliers are out there and they're approaching their OEMs and they're saying, look, it's time for you to purchase this inventory back. A lot of the EMS folks that are on the line here probably have programs where they're holding inventory and charging a fee to their OEM customers, but I would say, Dennis, to a person, all of them say that that's not the business they want to be in, and they really would rather not be holding inventory, even if they're making a little bit of a fee.
Yeah, that's correct.
So, what we're able to do is we can purchase the inventory from the EMS supplier and provide the OEM customer extended terms, in some cases up to 20 years. Now, when the OEM looks at the supply agreement, of course, they want to gauge whether or not this is cost effective for them. So typically what the OEM is doing is they're comparing what would be their annual inventory carrying costs, or what would their holding costs be if the EMS supplier had to continue to hold the parts. And what we're able to show with our program is actual savings. And we can certainly demonstrate that for you with proposals. Now, for the EMS suppliers on the line, I see a few. This is a positive impact, immediate positive impact to your bottom line, to your free cash flow. I'm sure you're having weekly, hourly meetings about freeing up cash, and inventory is the absolute last thing you want to spend it on.
Yeah, that's right. And obviously, having by moving the obligation to the OEM customer, it also has a positive impact on the balance sheet. And so essentially, we've done hundreds of these agreements where we, through this process, this first strategy where we avoid the Sarbanes-Oxley issue. So essentially, we're purchasing inventory off the EMS customers, our EMS customers' balance sheet, moving the obligation to purchase to the OEM, providing your customers an extended term to take delivery and pay at a reduced annual inventory carrying cost, even reduced than if they purchased the inventory themselves. So this first strategy is to reduce the inventory from the balance sheet, and obviously when you are spending your working capital on inventory, that's not the most efficient use of capital. So our next strategy is a go-forward strategy, and this is where we want to partner with all of the EMS providers. So as you're needing to purchase or your OEM customers are requiring you to purchase inventory for many reasons, but specifically for end of life and last time buys, which is obviously there's a huge mismatch in the industry between the life cycle of OEM products and the life cycle of semiconductors and electronic components. And so the go-forward strategy would be to partner with Partstat. We want to proactively work with you to identify OEM customers that we can establish our supply agreement with those companies. And then going forward, when these purchases are required, we would purchase on your OEM's behalf instead of our EMS customer or even the OEM company having to spend their capital to make this multi-year purchase of inventory. So so on the go forward, it's a lot cleaner. This inventory is not on anyone's balance sheet, and obviously there's no Sarbanes-Oxley issues here, right, Michael?
Yeah, that's right. We completed a recent transaction where we're able to actually institute both strategies. An EMS supplier had accumulated around $7 million worth of inventory for their medical device OEM. It also had on order around $3 million worth of additional inventory for that OEM supplier. So what we were able to do is actually purchase the inventory from the EMS supplier. They recapitalized $7 million, and then we were able to take over those existing purchase orders that the EMS supplier had out and was obligated to for the OEM. So for the EMS supplier, that's $10, $11 million that they were able to basically avoid having to spend their precious working capital on.
That's right, and so we have hundreds of agreements in place, and we've done maybe almost 250 to 300 end-of-life last-time buy purchases for customers to date since we kicked this solution off just around 5 years ago. So in this process and this go-forward strategy, we want to partner with all the EMS companies. So when these purchases come up, we'll step in on your customer's behalf and purchase the inventory. Michael, I know our EMS customers really like the fact that they're really taken out of the crosshairs of this situation.
Yeah, that's true. I've had one comment to me directly, and they said, okay, so basically you're moving the commitment to my OEM customer as far as what they need to purchase, how much needs to be purchased, and over time, and then they're ultimately responsible for the purchase of that inventory through the term. So it doesn't matter to me, me being the EMS supplier, if the demand changes because the obligation is with the OEM. So that's exactly right, and they couldn't be happier.
Yeah, and so the fact that this solution for component manufacturers, it keeps them relevant on the board. For many OEM customers, it may help them avoid redesigns and things of that nature, which we've seen firsthand. And so in this go-forward strategy, it's much cleaner. We like to get involved as soon as companies get the end-of-life notice so that we can execute on the customer's behalf. And then Partstat will purchase a multi-years, maybe up to 20 years of inventory direct from the component manufacturer before the last time buy date using our own capital. And then we provide the OEM customer an extended term to pay up to 20 years at a lesser annual carrying cost than what they would typically pay if they bought it themselves. Or in some cases, I know EMS companies may purchase the inventory, but then they'll charge their customer an annual inventory carrying fee, and our fees are usually much less than that as well. Obviously, for both the our EMS customer and the OEM customer, this preserves the working capital and it has a positive impact on free cash flow for everyone. So to date, these are just some of the companies, some of the brands that we have supply agreements in place with. We have many more, but these are just some of the major brands that we have supply agreements in place with. Many of these companies, all of these companies have been to our facility. They have audited our facilities from a quality perspective, from a financial perspective, not only our business, but as well as the solution itself, and from a controllership perspective. And what we do is, Michael, you could probably share a little bit more on this, of how we set these agreements up in template form.
Yeah, that's right. So each one of these OEMs, we have a long-term agreement set up in a template form. So, of course, most of these companies have worldwide footprints. As a last-time buy situation comes up, they simply approach us. We make an amendment to that agreement, and we're able to go forward on that agreement. Some of these OEMs, we've literally done 50 or 60 different transactions. So that makes it seamless. It's a one-time through agreement well, it's agreed to, and then it's available for the rest of the sourcing staff.
Right. So we set these up. We set our agreements up in the front end one time as a template, and then as we move forward, when purchases need to happen, we add an addendum to the sourcing manager wherever they are in the world. They can pull the agreement, add an addendum to what we're purchasing, and then Partsstat's ready to execute. I will say that many of these OEM customers have realized that once they get the supply agreement in place, they can use our solution to purchase inventory for a lot of different reasons. In fact, we've helped customers not only with end-of-life last-time buys, but we've also helped customers who maybe get a notification from component manufacturers that component prices will be going up in the new year, and they used our solution to hedge against the price inflation. We've also used the solution for purchasing sub-assemblies that maybe the EMS provider has built for the OEM customer. So this program has really grown to where we're purchasing inventory for a lot of different reasons, and OEMs and EMS companies have been really excited because of the way that we purchase the inventory and the longevity, how we can hold and manage and have customers pay for the inventory, right, Michael?
Yeah, case in point, I was just talking to an OEM today, and they wanted to get ahead of what is going to be a future price increase. So they know next year a certain component manufacturer is going to be increasing prices by 25%. They know for sure that this component is something they're going to use and definitely use over the next 3 to 4 years. So what we were able to show them is that we can hedge against that price increase by purchasing 3 to 4 years worth of inventory now. And even when you roll our fees into that, it's still less than and represents a cost savings than what would be that price increase.
Yeah, OEM customers are very excited about this particular solution because obviously they've been investing millions and millions of dollars each year in securing multiple years of inventory. This is really a hot button for the OEM and the EMS company. EMS companies like the fact that it creates a lot of stickiness between them and their OEM customer because now they have a resource that they can fall back to when this multi-year purchase needs to happen. So the types of products that we can purchase, a lot of these things it started out as maybe semiconductors and electronic components, but to date we're purchasing inventory for all different types of components, and we're able to warehouse them here for our customers. So that from semiconductors and electronic components and hard drives, graphic cards, as I mentioned, sub-assemblies that the EMS provider may be building for the OEM, displays, PCs, LCDs, and many, many more. This list continues to keep growing. Michael, I think we had one customer came to us and wanted us to buy maybe wind turbine blades, but that's something that maybe we draw the line in certain things we just can't purchase.
Yeah, we tried to fit that in our warehouse, but seeing that's 150 meters long, it just wouldn't fit.
That's right.
Interesting, Dennis, a lot of these type products have to do with repair and service, right? Some of the OEMs we had mentioned previously, they have a very large installed base of these products that have a very long life, right? So you'll see hard drives, some assemblies, graphic cards. That the companies take advantage of our program to help with their service and repair needs.
Yeah, and the component manufacturers are constantly moving to the newest revision of their technology, and as they do that, OEMs are usually lagging behind that. Our solution is a great way to bridge that, and as I mentioned before, there's just such this mismatch between the life cycle of OEM products and the life cycles of semiconductors, and so this solution really pays big dividends for everybody involved, the EMS company, the OEM company, and the component manufacturers. So to date, we've purchased directly from a lot of different component manufacturers and authorized distributors. As you see, there's a couple of authorized distributors on the right-hand side of this. Our solution for those companies is very much the same two strategies that we provide for the EMS companies, where many times Arrow and Avnet are purchasing the inventory initially for their customer, but at 12 months is their extent of their hold period, and that's usually when we get the call, and then we're actually purchasing the inventory off of their balance sheet, moving the obligations to their OEM customer, and then providing their customer an extended term up to 20 years to take delivery and pay for that. Many of the component manufacturers love this solution because it keeps them relevant on the board, on the design win of their customer. And so we purchased in many cases directly from these component manufacturers before the last time buy date. And by the manner in which we pay these companies, that eliminates any of the friction that may be there just because they're issuing an end-of-life notice on a design that they formerly had with the OEM customer. So there's no size that we can't of a transaction that we can't handle. These could be a $500,000 purchase. Certainly could be a one-shot $20 or $30 million purchase. So we can handle all types of purchase levels and all types of components from these types of companies. So many benefits to our solution here today, and I'm going to have Michael go through some of these benefits, but obviously lots of benefits for both our EMS customer that's on the line here today and for your customers, the OEM.
Well, first and foremost, especially for the EMSs that are on the line, is you can preserve working capital. There are so many initiatives today to free up cash flow. The absolute last thing that you want to spend your money on is inventory. So that's exactly what our program does. Is it helps you to preserve your working capital. And to date, we've done a little over $250 million of working capital savings for our customers. And of course, recovering that capital lets you take that capital and invest it where there's a better return. In most companies, that's an ROIC. You're investing it back into your operation. So freeing up that working capital, improving your free cash flow, lets you invest in ROIC. And as I was alluding to before too, you actually get to move this purchase commitment to your OEM. So right? We all know that OEMs have perfect demand and forecast, and our EMS customers on the line are able to buy just in time all the time. Well, we know that's not true. Forecasts change, programs change, but if you can take this piece of that business, which would be really the excess buys, right? If you're buying for last time buy or for end of life or for allocation issues, you're not having to make the commitment to purchase that. It's your OEM, so it kind of shifts the table there. Very beneficial to the EMS supplier, and really for the OEM. The OEM has control over the inventory, so it's also good for them. Overall, we're supporting long-term platforms, right? Whether it be for production or service and repair cycle. And then, one neat feature too of the program is in the beginning of each contract, we are basically everyone knows what the delivery schedule is going to be, and we get to set a price in the beginning, and that price doesn't change. So if the transaction's for 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, the price does not go up, and that's a big benefit.
Yeah, so obviously preservation of capital is huge, and in today's environment, cash is king really for any business. But being able to have those dollars or recover those dollars and reinvest in projects that have an economic return for your company is a much more efficient use of working capital than investing in a multi-year purchase, especially of inventory. And then we have, Michael and I have worked on hundreds of agreements with customers, redlining the agreements back and forth. We can use the OEM's T's and C's and work backwards. We have our agreement as well, but we have a lot of experience with working with OEMs and establishing a supply agreement. There's this mismatch. This keeps the design good for companies. Many of our customers I know make great products. Many OEMs out there make great products, and their customer base doesn't want to switch to the new version. And so you have many times where customers are on their 5th or 6th last time buy because they just weren't able to get the new design into the marketplace out there. This supports that process and supports those customers. And many of our customers have a long service cycle, whether it's medical or aerospace. Their service cycles are a long time, maybe up to 20 years. And so we're able to support those. And by far, Michael's right. One of the biggest, I think, along with the preservation of capital, one of the biggest benefits of our solution is that the day that we purchase the inventory, all costs are locked in throughout the entire term. So if we're selling that part for $20 today, when we make our last delivery 15 years down the line, it's still $20. There's no more inflation on an obsolete part, which eliminates some of those PPVs that I know you guys go back and forth on.
So this is a good slide. I had a question that came up the other day from an ES supplier, and they said, is this a 4-way agreement? Is it between the component manufacturer, the EMS supplier, Partstat, and the OEM? And the answer is no. It's a 2-way. So basically, it's between Partstat and the OEM. The EMS supplier can recommend us as a solution to the OEM, which is actually a reduced cost than probably what their current solution is. But at the end of the day, it's a long-term supply agreement between Partstat and the OEM customer.
That's right. And so, as I mentioned, we have a lot of experience with working with the OEMs to establish these supply agreements. And I think one great way to move forward, if you're an EMS company, to contact us. You can provide us a scenario of a last time buy you have coming up or one you just completed. We can show you the economic value of our solution if you provide us those details. And again, our goal here is to partner with the EMS companies and work proactively with you to establish these supply agreements with your OEM customer base. So when these purchases come up, Partstat's ready to react. So we did include a case study today. I think, Michael, you alluded to this case study specifically earlier in our conversation today. After the conclusion of this, if you have some interest and you'd like to have a copy of this slide deck to socialize internally, please reach out to us and we'll share the slide deck with you. And then you can read this. I won't go over this case study here, but you can read this case study. But essentially, had a medical device manufacturer who was being asked by their EMS provider to purchase the inventory that the EMS provider was holding for them. We did it on their behalf, and we also stepped in and were able to novate on upcoming purchases of inventory from a distributor to our solution as well. So this was a great benefit to the EMS company. Obviously, it saved them we recovered $7.6 million to their balance moved inventory from inventory to cash, and then the $3.3 million it preserved. They didn't have to spend that for an upcoming purchase that they had. So obviously we couldn't do any of this if we didn't have the specialty storage and infrastructure to properly handle, store, and fulfill these electronic components, right, Michael?
Yeah, that's right. You know, beyond what might be considered a financial advantage to our program, at heart, we're really an electronics, we specialize in electronic storage and handling, right? So in terms of business continuity, we have all the processes and protocols in place here at Partstat to properly handle components. We use all the JDEC standards for MSL, baking, and we have installed ESD and MSL protocols. Of course, our warehousing services are here right outside of Orlando, Florida. We do worldwide fulfillment. We ship around the world every single day. One feature our customers like is that we're able to give them monthly or quarterly reporting on consumption, and that can allow for alerts on overconsumption. A lot of times, the last time buy window might not be closed, and we have been approached by OEMs who are over-consuming and they want to purchase additional inventory. The consumption reports really helps them to gauge where they are. It's been our experience that probably most of them don't purchase enough, and this helps them get ahead of that situation. Now, during the entire term, we are the OCM liaison, so we can help with failure analysis, RMA administration, and also warranty administration.
Yeah, and the consumption reporting, I'm just going to highlight a little bit because that's very important. You know, forecasting is very difficult for everyone, and many times it's unknown if they purchased enough of the inventory until they get well into the project, and maybe the last time buy date has already passed, and now they don't have that option. So as soon as we take delivery of inventory and start the fulfillment process, we're providing quarterly consumption reports. And then if we see that the customer's over-consuming at any type of rate, we can throw up a red flag. And that gives us time to go back to the component manufacturer to purchase additional inventory before that last time buy window closes. And I know that's a big benefit to a lot of our customers. So as I mentioned earlier, we do take business continuity very seriously. And so when we purchase end-of-life components, we understand the critical nature of those components, and just having insurance coverage is not enough, you know. So we have innovated, and we have the Semiconductor Vault inside of our warehouse. This is an incredible piece of innovation where it has an 1,100-pound door. It's fireproof. It's got ceramic walls. It's sealed. It's flood-proof, magnetically shielded. It's got its own ESD controlled and air conditioning, humidity controlled environment, as well as its own fire suppression system. So when we purchase these end-of-life, last-time buy critical components, we place them inside of our vault. And I think what's neat about this is as we continue to expand this program, this vault can be expanded. It's modular in construction, so we can expand it if we need to and add on to it as we continue to grow the solution. We do provide die and wafer banking. So some of our customers are buying on a die and wafer level, sometimes out of a strategy to reduce component costs. Sometimes it's an end-of-life, last-time buy scenario where they're buying the remaining die at the component manufacturer. So we have these high-tech dry cabinets that reside inside of the Semiconductor Vault, where we actually can keep relative humidity of less than 5%. Using zeolite technology. And so this is a great piece of technology, and many companies who are buying on the die and wafer banking level, we can provide this solution. Now, some customers, some OEM companies have already bought the obsolete inventory. And Michael, I know that some companies have come to us, and because of Sarbanes-Oxley, we can't really buy it from them and then sell it back to them, but they'll use our solution as a storage feature.
Exactly. A lot of the OEMs don't really have the infrastructure in place, and they really like to have it off-site too, just for business continuity. So we offer this storage-only solution for customers who own the inventory and are looking for specialized storage solution.
So that's the conclusion of our slide deck today. We really hope we enlighten people with our unprecedented solutions that we're offering companies. And if you're an EMS provider and you're looking to reduce inventory and improve free cash flow, I ask that you contact us and let's start a conversation so that we can share stories of what we're doing for many of our EMS companies. Many of the major EMS companies are starting to scale this solution with us. As I mentioned before, there's no limit as to how much inventory we could purchase. So please contact us. And on that note, I'll pass it back to Michael Stratton so he can wrap us up.
Thank you, Dennis. We do actually have just a couple questions that came in, and we're going to try to get to them all. But if we don't, we will be posting these on our LinkedIn channel. So if you're not following us on LinkedIn, please follow us there for other insights and tips and tricks on how to reduce inventory and improve free cash flow. But Dennis, you actually just answered the first question that came into the chat box here about, is there a limit on how much inventory Partstat can buy? And the answer is no. That's
correct. Yeah, we're unlimited as to how much inventory we could purchase for a company. No matter what the amount is, we're working on some very large purchases right now. So I would say contact us and let's talk about your details.
Awesome. Thank you, Dennis. And this next question is actually perfect for Michael Carpino. And that is, and I'm surprised this wasn't the first question, is how does Partsstat's pricing work for this type of solution?
Well, I am surprised that wasn't the first question because that's typically what everybody wants to know. So basically the way our pricing works is we're purchasing inventory and supplying it over time. We charge an annualized fee, and that's based on the average inventory balance throughout the term. So if you took 20% of the inventory in the first year, your average inventory would be X, and we charge an annualized fee against that. Now, we have to offer a solution that's going to be beneficial to our customers, and there's two ways it is. Most OEMs have internal or inventory carrying costs. And inventory carrying costs are much more than just the cost of capital, right? It's inventory risk costs, which includes insurance and taxes. And then we have the normal inventory costs, which is real estate, labor, and administration. Dennis, I think we've seen inventory carrying costs range anywhere from 12% annualized to maybe as high as 20, 22%.
Yes, we have.
In our solution, of course, it depends on the size of the transaction and the length of the term. But our transactions range anywhere from 10% annualized to potentially as low as 7% annualized. Our customers are reporting back to us savings somewhere in the range of 40% over their current solution. And we have EMS suppliers on the line here. I think that we've seen EMS suppliers that have basically admitted to us that they charge about around 15%.
Usually we see between 14 to 15% of the average of what the EMS company may charge their OEM customer on an annualized holding basis.
Exactly. So listen, EMS suppliers, you get to recapitalize dollars that you have in inventory right now and pass the savings on to your OEM customer. So it's definitely a win-win.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. Definitely unprecedented solution here. And speaking of EMS companies, this is a great question for you, Dennis. Is there any cost to the EMS company in this scenario?
That's a great question. No, there's only benefits. So the EMS company, if you're holding the inventory or you have upcoming purchases that you need to make, by partnering with Partstat on the solution, there's no cost to you. In fact, we're improving your free cash flow. We're reducing the inventory from your balance sheet. Those things are savings to you. And then for your OEM customer, the fact that we'll purchase up to 20 years of inventory and provide them a long-term schedule to take delivery and pay for that at a reduced annual inventory carrying cost is great. But to the EMS customer, there's absolutely no cost to our solution.
Love it. Thank you, Dennis. And we have time for one more question, and we have more questions in there. So I'll actually try to do a 2-for-1 here. And so, Dennis, this last kind of combined question is going to be for you. So first of all, how long can Partstat hold the inventory? And can EMS companies or OEMs use our solution to purchase inventory for other reasons?
Yeah, great question. So, we've made purchases where I think, Michael, our average probably a term of our agreements are probably around 7 to 8 years.
Yep.
That's about right. So, however, for customers who have long-term platforms, like as I said, in the aerospace industry or some medical customers, some of the industrial companies also have long-term platforms. We can purchase inventory. We'll purchase $10, $15, $30 million of inventory all up front, and we can hold and deliver and fulfill and invoice over up to a 20-year period, which is really unprecedented. And I'm sorry, what was the second part of that question?
And the second part of that question was, can an OEM or EMS provider use our solution to purchase inventory for other reasons other than the ones that we explained today?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about there earlier. So what started out as an end-of-life, last-time buy solution has now blossomed into purchasing inventory for a lot of other reasons. We've had some companies come to us not only for price inflation mitigation, where component manufacturers are going to be raising the prices. I think, Michael, we've done an evaluation on that on several customers where anything over a 12% inflation of component price, our solution actually saves some money, right?
Yeah, depends on the term, but that's about right.
Yeah, and so for different reasons, we've had some cases where we're buying the end-of-life component, we're shipping and fulfilling it to the EMS provider. EMS provider is building a box for the OEM that then they sell back to the OEM it's a sub-assembly that they sell back for integration. We purchased those sub-assemblies as well. We've also had companies, I know a couple of years ago, we had companies using the solution to hedge against component shortages. Ceramic chip capacitors were in high demand, and so some companies saw that we got a notification through our bill of material monitoring service that their components were going on allocation. They used our solution to purchase 2 or 3 years or maybe even 1 year of inventory to avoid being caught in a situation where they could not get components. And obviously so relevant today with the pandemic and coming out of COVID-19, one of the things that we just worked with the company, and I think we have a video on our website where we talk about war gaming your supply chain, where companies are using this solution as a way to mitigate risk. And, companies are maybe moving away from just-in-time delivery to just-in-case inventory. So as they do that, this solution is relevant where we could purchase that inventory and for buffer stock situations. So companies can use this solution for a lot of different scenarios. And I might add one thing that we really covered earlier. Some of our agreements, when we set them up, we can set them up 2 ways. We can roll our fees into the unit price of the part. So as we're delivering back to the EMS provider through the production cycle, and the EMS provider pays those invoices, that covers the liability we have for the OEM. Some OEMs want to keep that cost segregated out from the component price to keep the component price low on their BOM, and so we can bill those separately. So we have a lot of flexibility on that, as well as we have a lot of flexibility in the geographic location of where this inventory sits. In fact, we have purchased inventory and we own the inventory, but it can be consigned at a location, either at the EMS customer or at another location, wherever the OEM wants.
Awesome. Thank you, Dennis, and thank you, Michael, for running through that unprecedented solution for EMS providers on how they can reduce inventory and improve free cash flow. Ladies and gentlemen, that is all the time we had for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Please look to our LinkedIn channel for the recording of this webinar that we're going to drop there, as well as we will be posting it on our website. Again, if you are not following us on LinkedIn, please do so for other tips and tricks on how to preserve working capital, reduce inventory, and lower inventory carrying costs. Again, thank you so much, and we will see you next month.